Vic Fangio on kicking that late field goal.
Yeah, it's 4th and 9, and your odds are very low through analytics and all that. There was enough time left that gave us a chance to get a stop, and even if we gave up a field goal, we'd have a chance. If we go for it and don't get it, and they get that same field goal, then we're down 2 scores with not enough time. So I understand the second guessing there and going for it, but 4th and 9, your chances are a little not great.
So, as ridiculous as Vic Fangio sounds, and as much as it sounds like he has no idea what he's talking about and just, spewing, the buzzwords around decision making, he actually got to the right conclusion. It was for the wrong reasons, though. So, let me explain that. Here are the 2 ways you can win the game. You can kick, and that could lead to a win. You can run a 4th down play, and that could lead to a win. So 3 ways you can kick, and you can win. You can get the field goal. That would mean you're down 4. You can get a defensive stop, and when I say defensive stop, I mean allow 0 points on Casey's next drive. You're still down 4, and then you get into the end zone for 6. As the game ends, conversion doesn't matter. So you win by 2. Or you can get the field goal. So you're down 4. You could D3. Your defense could allow 3. You go back down 7. Then you get into the end zone to tie it, and you win in overtime. And besides the fact that Fangio never goes for 2, it's not really a big difference whether you get into the end zone and then get the 2, or get into the end zone, kick the PAT, and win in overtime. Both after the end zone, both are going to be about 50%. Whether just get the 2 at 50%, or kick the PAT, which is near 100, and then win in overtime, which is about 50. So those are the same, and Fangio never goes for 2 anyway, so we could just leave it like this. And your third way is you can miss the field goal, so you would still be down 7, but then you can get a stop, still be down 7, get into the end zone, and win in overtime. I included this. You really don't need to, because McManus missing from 31 is so unlikely. This expression is going to be so close to 0, but I included it anyway. So if you run a 4th down play, you have 2 ways to win. You can convert the 4th and 9. You would still need to get into the end zone from about the 5-yard line after that. You would need to get a defensive stop because you would be up 7. You can't allow any points. And then you would have to win in overtime. And you could even miss the 4th down conversion and still get in. So you could miss the 4th down conversion. You would turn it over on downs. You would be down 7. But you could get a defensive stop. The Chiefs would be very far from scoring themselves. You could get into the end zone for 7 and win in overtime. So these are the 5 ways you could win, whether you're going to kick or whether you're going to run a 4th down play. We need some probabilities to do the calculation. The easy ones are these ones that are included. On the left side, McManus from 31. You could just look at his stats from anywhere in the 20s, 30s, and extra points. He's about 96.5%. The trickier one to figure out of these 5 that I've included so far is this one. The probability that the Broncos get into the end zone on their next drive. So whether they fail on 4th, force a punt, and they start a new drive, or whether they kick the field goal, force a punt, start a new drive, or Fangio's way, whether they get the 3, allow a 3, and after a touchback, start a new drive. Either way, it's going to be somewhere around their own 25-yard line. So to calculate this, I got 42%. I just looked at how many drives they had today, how many times they went about 75 yards. It was actually over. It was well over 50%. It was in the low 60s. The thing is, they were doing it mostly on the ground. So you're not going to have enough time to do that. You're probably going to use your timeouts when Casey has the ball. So you're not going to be able to just run it every single play, which is really the only way they were moving the ball. So from 60, it was about 62% of their drives had been going 75 plus. I reduced it by a third just because they're going to have to go out of their comfort zone and either throw or risk running out of time. And I got 42%. After that, overtime 50-50. After that, on the right side, the probability of getting the 4th and 9, that's what we're going to solve for. That's going to be X. And the last one on the right side, getting into the end zone after you convert the 4th and 9. We can't say 100. They were moving the ball very easily on the ground, but I mean, there was that turnover, that fumble run back. So we can't say 100, but I have no problem saying 90% if they had a fresh set of downs at the 5. The two difficult ones to calculate, or rather to estimate, the probability that Denver gets a defensive stop on KC's next drive so that you give up 0 points. I got to 40%. First, I looked at everything KC had done this game. They had actually been moving the ball. They didn't have a ton of points to show for it, but they were moving the ball pretty well. They had about half their drives go, 60 plus yards. The thing is, right before half, they went 30 yards in 4 plays, and then time ran out. So that one probably would have gotten them into scoring position also. So it's probably more than half, in addition to teams like the Broncos going into prevent and just letting you do anything you want underneath and not understanding that actually makes it easier for the offense to move the ball. So I said KC will probably be more than 50% likely to get some amount of points. That means less than 50% that the Broncos get a defensive stop, allow 0. So I got to 40%. And then to specifically allow a field goal in this very specific Vic Fangio scenario where you kick to go down 4, but then allow a field goal and you're back down 7, and then you have 1 drive left to tie it. So if they're 40% to get a stop, that means they're 60% to allow some amount of points to the Chiefs. So of that 60%, I just went about 50-50 whether you allow a field goal or a touchdown. The Chiefs weren't doing what they usually do and just scoring at will. So about 40% that the Chiefs score 0, about 30% that they score 3 exactly, and about 30% that they score a touchdown. So the ones we needed are the first two. 40% that the Chiefs score 0 and 30% that the Chiefs score exactly 3. So now we have numbers, and we could plug numbers into these scenarios to do the calculation. First, we get to here, and we have everything except the probability of the 4th and 9 conversion. So on the bottom, converting the 4th and 9 is 100% minus missing the 4th and 9 conversion. Those two have to add up to 100%. So all we have right now are numbers and one variable. So we could simplify it a little bit. I put in X for the probability of converting that 4th and 9, and we could simplify it a little more, and we get to here. Probability of winning with a kick up top, 22.6%. Down here, we should just look at the left side of this phrase, because to maximize this, X times 0.18 plus 1 minus X times 0.084, if you wanted to maximize this expression, X would be 100%. So left of the plus sign would be 100% times 0.18, which is 18%, and right of the plus sign would be 0 times 0.084, which would be 0. So this bottom scenario, running a 4th down play, can only possibly be 18%. Meanwhile, up top, winning with a kick, you're going to win about 22.6% of the time. So you cannot possibly be converting this 4th and 9 often enough to justify running a 4th down play. That's odd. That's usually not the case. Usually in situations like this, the team that's, down, they have to do something out of their comfort zone to score. They haven't been scoring much. So it doesn't make sense to kick the 3, go down 4, and hope, if I'm still alive after the opponent's next drive, everything's just going to come together while we're in desperation mode with probably no timeouts and limited time on the clock, and we're going to score. That's usually what coaches think will happen. It's insanity. Here, it actually wasn't that bad of an idea because the Broncos were moving the ball so much more. So by kicking and you go down 4, there's actually a ton of the time you still win. Because when you either allow 0 or allow 3, you're very confident that you're going to score on your way back. Also, running a 4th down play, say you were 100% to convert the 4th down play. That is very far from how often you win. It's going to be lowered by how often you get in after the conversion. You'll probably still have 5 yards to pick up. It'll be lowered more so by how often you need to hold KC to 0 points on their next drive, which I said was 40. And even if you get all that, it'll be lowered more so by going into overtime. You're going to lose half the time in OT anyway. So this is odd, but you actually should have kicked here. And Vic Fangio got the right conclusion, but for insane reasons. He said 4th and 9 is too unlikely to be going for it. It's actually the opposite. It's everything after the 4th and 9. Even if KC conceded this 4th and 9 to the Broncos, there's too much that needs to happen afterwards for Denver to think that maximizing their probability of winning goes through the path of running this 4th and 9 play. And one way coaches justify bad decisions to themselves is by just saying things that are true and thinking that's reason enough to do it. Fangio said all those events that would need to happen for the Broncos to win, and yeah, if all those happen, it's true, but they're not likely enough to happen. This would be like if a field goal won the game from the 10, and you backed yourselves up with penalties on purpose and then threw a Hail Mary, and were asked, why did you do that? You'd say, well, if the Hail Mary worked, that's enough points, we win. Yes, it's true, but that's far from enough of a reason to actually do it.